Joining us now in sunny Perth is Rob Towner from Triangle Energy. Rob, great to speak with you today.
Thanks for having me.
So it's our first time getting to speak to you about Triangle Energy. Can you give us an introduction to the company, a bit of an overview on the projects?
Triangle Energy is listed on the ASX, has been since 2009, and over the last 2 years in the downturn of the oil and gas sector, we acquired a majority interest of 78.5% of the Cliffhead oil field. The Cliffhead oil field was discovered in the early 2000s and commissioned in 2006. Currently produces 1,000 barrels of oil a day, and in addition, when it was built, the infrastructure at Arrowsmith, the onshore stabilisation plant, that was the combined cost of that build was 320 million. So in 12 years later, you could probably suggest that it might be $500 million to build it, and we have excess capacity. So a production of 1,000 barrels a day. Currently, it was built to process 15,000 barrels a day, so we see it as quite a strategic investment into infrastructure for the greater Perth Basin.
And can you tell us a bit more about the production profile and reserves at Cliffhead?
Yep.
And I understand you do have an asset life extension program there. Can you explain all of this?
So historically, the oil field at Cliffhead has produced 15 million barrels. We currently have reserves booked of 2.5 million barrels of recoverable, which will give us about 5 or 6 years further production. Since acquiring our interest, we have this calendar year committed $4 million of investment into upgrades of the infrastructure at Arrowsmith. A lot of that work has come through the downturn that was expenditure that would normally have been spent, but it's been put off. That's been funded out of cash flow, so we don't have a requirement to raise new money for that investment. In addition to that, we are currently getting towards the end of a full remodelling of a static model to redefine any unswept oil within the field, which would move towards October this year, where we'll have that independently signed off. But we are of the view that there is more oil in addition to the 2.5 million barrels. And again, it's all centred around the infrastructure of the ability to get new oil to market quickly. And we participated in an exploration well last year, the Xanadu 1 well, which is 12 kilometres to the south of our facility. We'll be running a seismic program on that to define again. It is a discovery. We were lucky on an exploration well, so we now need to go back and define how much oil's there. So a lot coming up, and that's really the reason why we bought it, was to extend the life of that infrastructure.
So Rob, increasing oil prices are a great thing for producers such as yourself, but also your low cost of production is something to mention. Yes,
part of the last sort of 18 months of restructuring the project, and the business has very much focused on getting the cost of production down. When we purchased into the project, we were running operating or lifting costs at about $45 a barrel. We've now got that down to $27 a barrel US. So, this last 3 months of increased oil prices at, above 60 even, we're making a good operating margin. So give us 6 months and we can start to reflect that in the bottom line.
I do see that you have acquired that 30% interest there at Xanadu, yep. And I assume that it will be processed through the Arrowsmith stabilisation plant, adding to your production portfolio?
Certainly not contracted in that. We've got joint venture partners when we get to that decision, but obviously we would be encouraging that, because it actually means that oil can be quickly put through processing rather than having to build a new processing facility, which doesn't make sense. But again, that's to be decided when the joint venture gets to that point. And
Triangle recently added 2 people to its board. What can you tell us about this new capacity, what it means for your company?
Yeah, so we've got 2 independent directors now that are both operational directors in terms of that's their main experience. Jason Peacock currently runs the Tui field for Tamarind Resources. That's another offshore facility that is producing, I think it's roughly 2,500 barrels a day. He was formerly with AWE and is New Zealand based. And Wei Lid is also the chief operator at Tamarind, but has experience with Shell in the past. So it's really complementary directorship of not just the corporate governance side of being a listed company, but really it's to give us our top line strategic direction from those two.
And I am wondering, what is the overarching strategy that you guys are thinking about? You really are building quite a presence in the Perth Basin with essential infrastructure in place. So is it additional reserves you're looking for, new discoveries? Do you want to build upon what you've got already?
We have a very much focused interest on the Perth Basin. The participants currently, from the oil perspective, which is our main focus, it's a lot of junior explorers, or it is, the bigger majors. There's nothing sort of in the middle. We see our benefit in that we do have cash flow, and it's quite reliable. It's been doing it for 10 years. It's not as if it's an unknown factor. So we've got the ability to forecast where we can expand on reserves through investment in either, be it exploration, but really the real focus is additional development, and the basin has been around for 60 years as a energy basin. So the opportunity to invest in development is quite in front of us. It's not an exploration program, and hence the remodelling of our Cliff Head Reservoir is what we're doing now. We've been doing that now for 3 months, and that will come to a head, I suppose, in the next month. And there are other onshore fields that haven't been in production since sort of 2014. So we're having a full review. The point again being that the Arrowsmith infrastructure is very, very valuable, and from a state development situation to develop that Perth Basin is important. We have a good relationship with a lot of the local industries, be it the fishing industry. The farming industry have been well aware of this for many years and been partnering a lot of companies, including AWE. I mean, it seems to work. So that's how we look at it for the general Perth Basin, but the townships of Donga and Geraldton.
Very interesting stuff. Nice news for WA.
I hope so. I've got to talk to a few pollies.
Well, that's on positive note.
Yeah, it is. I'm not there to bash them up. I'm there to say, hey, come on, you've got to come along for the ride.
Sounds like a fun ride. Remind us, what are the next key news flows?
The most immediate one will be, the outcomes of our remodelling of the Cliff Head Reservoir. We would hope to be getting approval from the operator of Xanadu, from the government, to do our seismic program. In addition to that, we've obviously probably got our financials for the half year will be coming up, and I don't know them yet, but we would hope that with this improved oil price, that might start to be reflected into our accounts, and I think part of the market's view is at the moment, we've been in a low oil price environment for 2 years since we bought into this. It's only been 3 months of plus $60 oil, so it's not, everyone's guessing, but hopefully if we can keep it at $70, we'll continue to make good money.
Well, Rob, we wish you all the best with all of it, and do hope to get you back in with more good news.
Thank you.